Hey guys, it's Ellie. Welcome back to Bite-Sized Book of Mormon. I'm glad to have you with me. So if you've never been here before, this is just a podcast where I read through one chapter of the Book of Mormon each episode, and to give a little bit of context, a little bit of insight, a little bit of good times. So stick around. So if you remember last episode, we read Mosiah chapter 28, in which the sons of Mosiah and Alma the Younger get permission from the king, Mosiah, to go preach to the Lamanites. So we're going to see how that preaching goes. And also, last chapter, Mosiah translated the plates of Ether, the 24 plates of the Jaredites, and now the people of Nephi have that record, which is so interesting. And actually, we're going to get to read it later on in the Book of Mormon, which is so exciting. So yeah, I think without further ado, we read Mosiah chapter 29, the last chapter of Mosiah. Now when Mosiah had done this, he sent out throughout all the land, among all the people, desiring to know their will concerning who should be their king. And it came to pass that the voice of the people came, saying, We are desirous that Aaron thy son should be our king and our ruler. Now Aaron had gone up to the land of Nephi, therefore the king could not confer the kingdom upon him, neither would Aaron take upon him the kingdom, neither were any of the sons of Mosiah willing to take upon them the kingdom. Therefore King Mosiah sent again among the people, yea, even a written word sent he among the people, and these were the words that were written, saying, Behold, O ye my people, or my brethren, for I esteem you as such, I desire that ye should consider the cause which ye are called to consider, for ye are desirous to have a king. Now I declare unto you that he to whom the kingdom doth rightly belong has declined, and will not take upon him the kingdom. And now if there should be another appointed in his stead, behold, I fear there would rise contentions among you. And who knoweth but what my son, to whom the kingdom doth belong, should turn to be angry, and draw away a part of this people after him, which would cause wars and contentions among you, which would be the cause of shedding of much blood, and perverting the way of the Lord, yea, and destroy the souls of many people. Now I say unto you, let us be wise, and consider these things, for we have no right to destroy my son, neither should we have any right to destroy another if he should be appointed in his stead. And if my son should turn again to his pride and vain things, he would recall the things which he had said, and claim his right to the kingdom, which would cause him, and also this people, to commit much sin. And now let us be wise, and look forward to these things, and do that which will make for the peace of this people. Therefore I will be your king the remainder of my days. Nevertheless, let us appoint judges to judge this people according to our law, and we will newly arrange the affairs of this people. For we will appoint wise men to be judges, that will judge this people according to the commandments of God. Now it is better that a man should be judged of God than of man, for the judgments of God are always just, but the judgments of man are not always just. Therefore, if it were possible that you could have just men to be your kings, who would establish the laws of God and judge this people according to his commandments, yea, if ye could have men for your kings who would do even as my father Benjamin did for this people, I say unto you, if this could always be the case, then it would be expedient that ye should always have kings to rule over you. So we're in the middle of basically a letter that King Mosiah is sending to his people, where he basically lays out the issue in front of him. Because it's not just his issue, it's the whole people's issue. And if it goes down badly, then, everyone suffers. And it's basically the issue of who's going to be king next. And the heir to the throne, his son Aaron, has declined because he's one of the sons of Mosiah that got converted along with Alma the Younger, and now he's out teaching with the Lamanites. So he's not there to take the kingdom, and he said he didn't even want it if, he was there. And so now Mosiah's at an impasse, because if he appoints a different king, what if people wanted Aaron to be king because he's the rightful choice to be king? And so what if people civil war because of that? What if Aaron comes back and actually does want to be king and causes a civil war? Like, there's so many possibilities, and Mosiah really understands the tipping point that his people are at. And it's really interesting because had the sons of Mosiah and Alma the Younger been converted basically any later, Aaron would have likely taken the throne and become a horrible king. He likely would have been power hungry, just like Noah was, and taken the throne just for purely selfish reasons and used the tax money and the power to just fill up his lavish lifestyle. And so it's very good timing that God decided to answer Mosiah's prayers when he did, because it meant that, on the trail of the crazy conversion that he had with the angel, he's out, zealously preaching to the Lamanites instead of taking the kingdom. That's another small blessing from the timing of the angel coming that we don't really notice sometimes. But I also just love how careful Mosiah is being with this issue, because like I said, he knows the tipping point that he's at. He knows the danger of all of the choices, and that's why I think it's very clever that he's sending a letter to all of his people, so that everyone can have a say. Everyone knows the situation that King Mosiah is in, and can perhaps empathize with whatever decision he does make, because they understand the pickle that he's in, So it's very interesting. It's very interesting to see such open communication between a king and his people. And even I myself have labored with all the power and faculties which I have possessed to teach you the commandments of God and to establish peace throughout all the land, that there should be no wars nor contentions, no stealing nor plundering, nor murdering, nor any manner of iniquity. And whosoever has committed iniquity, him have I punished according to the crime which he has committed, according to the law which has been given to us by our fathers. Now I say unto you that because all men are not just, it is not expedient that ye should have a king or kings to rule over you. For behold, how much iniquity doth one wicked king cause to be committed, yea, and what great destruction! Yea, remember King Noah, his wickedness and his abominations, and also the wickedness and abominations of his people. Behold, what great destruction did come upon them, and also because of their iniquities they were brought into bondage. And were it not for the interposition of their all-wise Creator, and this because of their sincere repentance, they must unavoidably remain in bondage until now. But behold, he did deliver them because they did humble themselves before him, and because they cried mightily unto him, he did deliver them out of bondage. And thus doth the Lord work with his power in all cases among the children of men, extending the arm of mercy towards them that put their trust in him. That's an awesome quick little, doctrinal lesson right there, where he's like, hey, talk about bad kings. Remember Noah? Remember how terrible that was for the people that were with him? Remember how they were all in bondage and they were all taken over by the Lamanites because of that wickedness? Remember how it was only Jesus Christ that got them out of it because they prayed to God and humbled themselves? Remember that? Yeah, that's why we want to have a good king. Or no king, apparently. And just verse 20 is such a nugget of wisdom, because it's the whole moral of the story of King Noah and his people in one verse. He did deliver them because they humbled themselves, and because they cried mightily unto him, and he extended the arm of mercy towards them that put their trust in him. How did the people of Noah get out of it? They trusted God, they humbled themselves, they prayed to him. Those three things are what's credited with getting them out of bondage. And so, like I said, that's the whole moral of the whole King Noah exodus that we just read a few chapters ago in one verse. Which I think is cool. And behold, now I say unto you, ye cannot dethrone an iniquitous king, save it be through much contention, and the shedding of much blood. For behold, he has his friends in iniquity, and he keepeth his guards about him, and he teareth up the laws of those who have reigned in righteousness before him, and he trampleth under his feet the commandments of God. And he enacteth laws, and sendeth them forth among his people, yea, laws after the manner of his own wickedness. And whosoever doth not obey his laws, he causeth to be destroyed. And whosoever doth rebel against him, he will send his armies against them to war. And if he can, he will destroy them. And thus an unrighteous king doth pervert the ways of all righteousness. And now behold, I say unto you, it is not expedient that such abominations should come upon you. Therefore choose you by the voice of this people, judges, that ye may be judged according to the laws which have been given you by our fathers, which are correct, and which were given them by the hand of the Lord. So I just want to pause again. I love how Mosiah cares so much about his people. We know he's a good king, we know he's a righteous king, but he cares to the extent that he will set up an entirely new set of government instead of the possibility of a civil war or appointing a bad, wicked king. Because he cares enough about the people to know that if one of his actions goes wrong, if he appoints the wrong dude to be king, if some other civil war happens, he knows what's going to happen to his people. They're going to be destroyed. They're going to fall into wickedness, and horrible, horrible things are going to happen. And he is not uncaring enough to be a good king, but then when he's out of office, it's not his problem anymore. Whatever, it doesn't matter. He's not like that. He's like, hey, I know I'm going to leave the office soon. I know I'm going to, die or retire soon, but I don't want my people to fall into wickedness. I don't want my people to fall into war and contention. And I know that that's a possibility. And so I'm going to do everything in my power to stop that from happening. So it shows a level of care that extends beyond his term, I guess, as king, because he cares about what happens to his people after he's gone, after he's retired or dead. I actually don't know which. I don't know how old Mosiah is at this point. But you get my point. He really, really cares, and I love just in the way that he speaks to his people, in the care, in the way that he explains things to his people too, because he's taking so much care and time to explain to his people, hey, this is exactly what can happen if you elect a wicked king. You remember King Noah, all these bad things that happened, that could happen to you, and I do not want that to happen. That is why I'm sending you this letter, so I'm explaining to you the situation that I'm in so that you can understand the choice that I make. He's being so open with his people because he wants the best possible outcome for them. What a guy, right? Everything that I learn about Mosiah and all of these famous Book of Mormon people, the more that I respect them. And sometimes it's the really small details, like the fact that he is taking so much time to explain to his people the situation that he's in, that makes me respect him even more. Now it is not common that the voice of the people desireth anything contrary to that which is right, but it is common for the lesser part of the people to desire that which is not right. Therefore, this shall ye observe and make it your law, to do your business by the voice of the people. And if time comes that the voice of the people doth choose iniquity, then is the time that the judgments of God will come upon you. Yea, then is the time he will visit you with great destruction, even as he has hitherto visited this land. And now if ye have judges, and they do not judge according to the law which has been given, ye can cause that they may be judged of a higher judge. If your higher judges do not judge righteous judgments, ye shall cause that a small number of your lower judges should be gathered together, and they shall judge your higher judges according to the voice of the people. And I command you to do these things in the fear of the Lord. And I command you to do these things, and that ye have no king, that if these people commit sins and iniquities, they shall be answered upon their own heads. For behold, I say unto you, the sins of many people have been caused by the iniquities of their kings, therefore their iniquities are answered upon the heads of their kings. So here, Mosiah is basically laying out his plan, and his plan is to set up a system of judges. And it's kind of cool because at the end of verse 26 he says, do your business by the voice of the people, which sounds awfully democratic, wouldn't you say? So, democracy is coming, at least a form of democracy, is arising among the Nephites, which is kind of awesome. And basically the system is, there's like tiers of judges, and depending on what your crime is, what your offense is, you're sent to one of the judges, and if that judge is judging incorrectly, then they're judged either by higher judges or by a group of lower judges. And so there's like a whole system for accountability between the judges. And then Mosiah's like, well, if you ever decide to elect the wrong guy, then the judgments of God will be upon you. So yeah, that'll figure itself out. So it's kind of funny how he's like, don't worry, most times people will choose the right thing, but in the event that they don't, God will be right there, ready to dispense of his wrath. Which is kind of funny, and also true, so there you go. And now I desire that this inequality should be no more in this land, especially among my people, but I desire that this land be a land of liberty, and every man may enjoy his rights and privileges alike, so long as the Lord sees fit that we may live and inherit the land, yea, even as long as many of our posterity remains upon the face of the land. And many more things did King Mosiah write unto them, unfolding unto them all the trials and troubles of a righteous king, yea, all the travails of soul for their people, and also all the murmurings of the people to their king. And he explained it all unto them. And he told them that these things ought not to be, but that the burden should come upon all the people, that every man might bear his part. And he also unfolded unto them all the disadvantages they labored under by having an unrighteous king to rule over them. Yea, all his iniquities and abominations, and all the wars and contentions and bloodshed, and the stealing and the plundering, and the committing of whoredoms, and all manner of iniquities which cannot be enumerated, telling them that these things ought not to be, that they were expressly repugnant to the commandments of God. Again, this is another example of Mosiah just explaining. Like, he's not just like, hey guys, it's going to be a system of judges, suck it up, that's just how it's going to be now, bye. No, he's like explaining every reason for his choice, and he's explaining the system, how it works, why we're not having a king anymore, you know, the bad things that can come from having a wicked king. He's so open. And I've mentioned that a couple times now, but it's just like, oh man, he's so clear with his intentions and with his plans, and he's sending this letter, remember, as a declaration to all of his people, so everyone knows the exact situation that they're going to be in as soon as Mosiah stops being king. They're going to start having a system of judges, and they also know why they're going to have that system of judges, and they also know what would happen if they didn't have that system of judges, etc., etc. Mosiah is setting out his argument super clearly and really, really well. And that, I think, is a trademark of a really, really good king. That they can communicate with their people, and that their people can understand what they're doing at all times. So that they aren't just like, you know, looking at their king in their faraway throne in a palace somewhere, and they feel disconnected from the people. Mosiah is very, very connected to his people, which I think is a trademark, again, of a good king. What newsflash, Mosiah is a good king? Oh my gosh, this is stunning. And now it came to pass, after King Mosiah had sent these things forth among the people, they were convinced of the truth of his words. Therefore they relinquished their desires for a king, and became exceedingly anxious that every man should have an equal chance throughout all the land, yea, and every man expressed a willingness to answer for his own sins. Therefore it came to pass that they assembled themselves together in bodies throughout the land, to cast in their voices concerning who should be their judges, to judge them according to the law which had been given them, and they were exceedingly rejoiced because of the liberty which had been granted unto them. And they did wax strong in love towards Mosiah, yea, they did esteem him more than any other man. For they did not look upon him as a tyrant who was seeking for gain, yea, for that lucre which doth corrupt the soul. For he had not exacted riches of them, neither had he delighted in the shedding of blood. But he had established peace in the land, and he had granted unto his people that they should be delivered from all manner of bondage. Therefore they did esteem him, yea, exceedingly beyond measure. And it came to pass that they did appoint judges to rule over them, or to judge them according to the law. And this they did throughout all the land. And it came to pass that Alma was appointed to be the first chief judge, he being also the high priest, his father having conferred the office upon him, and having given him charge concerning all the affairs of the church. And now it came to pass that Alma did walk in the ways of the Lord, and he did keep his commandments, and he did judge righteous judgments, and there was continual peace through the land. And thus commenced the reign of the judges throughout all the land of Zarahemla, among all the people who were called the Nephites, and Alma was the first and chief judge. And now it came to pass that his father died, being 82 years old, having lived to fulfill the commandments of God. And it came to pass that Mosiah died also in the 33rd year of his reign, being 63 years old, making in the whole 509 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem. And thus ended the reign of the kings over the people of Nephi, and thus ended the days of Alma, who was the founder of their church. That felt very much like an epilogue. The whole story was like Alma the Elder and Mosiah kind of coming into their own, and now that they're dead, their, legacy lives on. Alma's son, also Alma, is being the high priest and the chief judge, and now it's like, everything's good, happily ever after. Unfortunately, we're like a third through the Book of Mormon, so that's not true, but it kind of reads like an epilogue, doesn't it? So yeah, it's kind of funny. But basically, the people are now under the judge system. And so now they have this democratic system of judges where Alma the Younger is the high priest and the chief judge. So he's basically as close as you can get to a king without actually being a king, because he still has accountability to the law instead of just being king for the sake of being king. So it's like an interesting difference, because yes, Alma the Younger is as close to the king as you can get, but he still has to be held accountable to the law and to the other judges and to, the commandments of God, especially considering that he's also the high priest, so he's also like a clergy leader. It's very interesting to think about, the whole new system that they have. And it also says that it's been, 509 years since Lehi left Jerusalem? We've read 500 years of history. My gosh. Because of the fact that we're only like a third, maybe closer to a half through the Book of Mormon, the next books are going to be, again, approximately 500 years of history. Kind of excluding Ether, because Ether is kind of outside of this timeline because it happens before everything. But basically, we're like halfway through the timeline, because the Book of Mormon goes from approximately 600 BC all the way to about 422 or 23 AD. And so that is almost exactly 1,000 years of history, which is so cool, and I love it. But now, next week, we're going to start the Book of Alma, which has 63 chapters. It's the longest book in the whole Book of Mormon, and it has a lot of the war chapters, which some people hate, but I actually love, and you will find out why I love it as we get there. But, so we're starting like a new era in the Book of Mormon. Because now, Abinadi converted Alma the Elder, and then Abinadi died, and now Alma the Elder converted all of Zarahemla, and also his son, and now he's dead, and now his son is kind of reigning in his stead. And so now we're like on the second or third generation of converts that was all started by Abinadi. So it's kind of crazy to think sometimes that none of this belief would currently be happening if not for Abinadi's desperate attempt to get King Noah to care, to get King Noah to listen to his words. And he died for it. But his efforts were good enough to eventually convert all of Zarahemla, all of the Nephites, which is wild. So anyways, it's kind of crazy to think about. And it's also interesting to think about the parallels between Alma the Elder and Alma the Younger. Because Alma the Elder also had a checkered past. As I've mentioned several times, he was a wicked priest of King Noah. He likely partook in a lot of the wicked deeds that the other priests did and that King Noah did. And now his own son also had a checkered past. He was an active rebel against the church. He tried to destroy the church and to flatter people away from it. And now he's once again been converted in an equally miraculous situation as his dad. So it's kind of interesting to see the parallels between these two people, although all Alma the Elder does is set up a church throughout all the Nephites, but what Alma the Younger is going to do is go on some of the most epic missionary trips of all time. So look forward to that, because I'm so excited to read some of the ensuing stories. Oh man, good stuff. So the standout verse for this chapter is going to be verse 10, which says, "And now let us be wise, and look forward to these things, and do that which will make for the peace of this people." Because once again, that reveals Mosiah's intentions. It reveals his priorities. And what his priorities are is peace. I also love how he says, let us be wise. He's like, guys, let's be smart about this. Come on. Let's not be crazy about this. Let's chill out. Let's not start a civil war. It's fine. We're going to be wise. We're going to be thoughtful. So it's both him, like, reassuring his people, I guess, and also him being like, guys, these are my intentions. We're going to build peace in the land. This plan is going to work. It's going to be fine. We'll figure it out. It'll be good. Just trust me. Anyways, it just reveals Mosiah once again as a stunningly good king. And this chapter is a wonderful send-off for Mosiah because, again, he dies at the end of the chapter. But it's like the final evidence of King Mosiah's awesomeness. Obviously, he won't go down in history as equally awesome as his father, King Benjamin, because King Benjamin gave that, like, really, really impactful speech that apparently affected an entire generation of believers. But King Mosiah is just as good as his father at being a king and caring about his people and teaching the people and doing the right thing by his people. So, yeah, I have great respect for Mosiah, and it's sad to see him go. But now the reign of the judges has commenced. And so get ready for the entire rest of the Book of Mormon being like, and thus commenced the something this year of the reign of the judges of the people of Nephi. Because there are verses like that throughout the entire rest of the Book of Mormon. Like, oh my goodness. Because that's how they organize time. They're like, it's been this many years since the commencement of the reign of the judges. And there are verses like that everywhere. I don't think you understand. They're everywhere. So get prepared. But it is actually a pretty interesting way to see really clearly the timeline and how long it's been since all of this went down. So anyways, very, very cool. King Mosiah and Alma the Elder will both be missed. However, Alma the Younger is kind of like the greatest of replacements for both of them. So yeah, there's definitely not going to be a vacuum of belief in Zarahemla once they both die. That's not going to be a problem. So yeah, that's going to be the episode today. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. This was a wonderful last chapter of Mosiah, and I'm excited to start Alma on Wednesday, so look forward to that. So there's just a few links down in the show notes. The first one is a let me know you learned link, so if you're going to send me a message, you can. It's there for you. There's also 3 different links to lead you to digital versions of the Book of Mormon, so if you don't have your own copy and you want to read along, or you don't have your own copy and you don't want to read along, click it anyways. Read along. Do it. I dare ya. Then there's a support the show link, so if you want to shoot me a few bucks and support what I do, that would be much appreciated. And finally, we're on YouTube, so if you want to listen on YouTube, you can. It gets posted there. You can also go and subscribe. I am actively working on extra content for that YouTube channel because now it's summertime and I have more time. So there you go. So yeah, that's all I have for you today. I'll talk to you later. Bye.